What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Welcome in. Today we are talking about disc replacement we've secured the pig is going to stay in the bag based on the video you saw last Thursday. But today we're tackling distance drivers because destroyers and wraiths might be in trouble. But before we dive in, of course, we got to ask, how are you doing today, Dave? Are you having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
All right, so looking at the drivers that I have in my bag, one of my favorite molds of all time has to be the Wraith. I think the Wraith is the slower arm destroyer, has a lot of similarities to it, but the Wraith also comes in an insane amount of plastic. So you have a lot of variance to it. In terms of distance drivers in my bag, I actually have 6 in my bag right now. The setup is pretty simple. I've got 3 Wraiths and I've got 3 destroyers that all do really vastly different things. I guess that's not entirely true. Some of them do have a little bit of crossover. I have this Team Innova Stamp Wraith, which is easily the flippiest driver I have in my bag. If I put too much juice on this, then it's going to turn over pretty easily. I've got a Halo Wraith that came from the first ever run of Halo Wraiths. This thing is so silly overstable. Don't really throw it on backhands that often. It's just a forehander that I make sure is gonna go right, overstable. I have just a Star Wraith from my first ever run with Foundation with the owl stamp on it. This is sort of like easy forehand distance. If I put any sort of firm power on this as a forehand disc, it's gonna stand up, have a little bit of turn, and then it's gonna fade back. Backhand, I can throw it, it's gonna stand up, and it's very similar flight on both forehand and backhand. Easy sort of like stand up, but it's not going to flip over by any means. Then we have this destroyer from Josh at Overthrow. This is a pre-flight number destroyer, so really old, and you can tell based on the fact that someone uses as a coloring disc to test a Sharpie. Really beat in, so easy stand up. I would say this one's actually flippier than that Wraith that I just showed. Sort of like max distance controlled shot. Probably that red Wraith's my max distance shot, but max distance controlled is this destroyer. Renegon Destroyer is my like reliable, I gotta put some stank into it on a forehand, I'm gonna see some fade there, or if I'm gonna throw a backhand and I gotta make sure that it's gonna fade, but not like dump fade, Renegon comes out there. And last but not least, Calvin Halo Destroyer. This is like crazy overstable flexes. I mean, this thing I have used a lot. It's gotten some beat-inness to it, but it's still crazy overstable. So while I like all 6 of these discs, I'm gonna be honest, from a creator standpoint, conversation that I've been having with a couple other creators and things like that, is that as we are trying to build creator economy inside of the sport, manufacturers really have everything to gain from the creator standpoint, because if a creator goes all in and they're just constantly bagging and throwing the discs all the time, obviously when manufacturers sponsor players on the pro tour and things like that, there is an equal benefit there because the Pro Tour player is getting some form of compensation, which is going to allow them to then throw the disc. And if they succeed, that's great because, you know, like Calvin winning a whole lot last year, people wanted to buy his Eagles. They wanted to buy destroyers, things like that. So there's a benefit there. But from a manufacturer to creator standpoint, most manufacturers aren't putting any value in the creators. And what I find very interesting is that while the deep part of the sport is following the Pro Tour, I think people underestimate how many casual disc golf players there are who are out there just slinging some discs trying to figure out what's going on. So when they don't value the creator side of things, then they're like, well, you're not playing on the Pro Tour, or you're not 1,000 rated, or you're not, whatever it may be, whatever reason they want to give to why they aren't willing to invest in creators. And this isn't true for all manufacturers, it's just true for some. When a creator gets out there and they're super invested and they're just pushing a product over and over again, it can make it really hard for future creators to have an opportunity to shine or even get a contract that's remotely close to their worth. So obviously here on the Robbie C channel, we're pretty invested in the pig, and we're also kind of invested in the polecat as well. I love both of those discs. I throw them on a regular basis, and I don't see the pig going anywhere anytime soon, nor do I see the polecat going anywhere anytime soon. So I stopped bagging the Firebird for that exact reason of I'm already talking about Innova with these 2 discs, so why don't I try to spread the love and test out other companies? But the top half of my bag is still heavily Innova. And since we took a year off to work on our distance, I think that we're gonna end up talking about distance drivers a good bit this year. So today we're gonna be testing out a new driver from a different company that I don't have a lot of in my bag to try to see, can they hold up? Can they fill those slots? So for an alternative, we're rocking 4 Raiders and 2 Defenders. I think the Defenders are going to be a lot more like my overstable Destroyers, and the Raiders should be very Wraith-like, except for the overstable ones, which will flip more into like Destroyers. Now I can already see the comments of like, this seems like an unnecessary move. This feels like, why don't you just throw what you want to throw? And while I hear that, I'm just going to be like 100% transparent, 100% honest. Because of the fact that this channel exists, there are 2 main motivators here. The first is that this channel exists. Because of that, my bag isn't really just for me. My bag is for you guys to enjoy as well, and me throwing this bag has implications. Although they may be small, I'm not trying to like make my head all big and be like, well, Innova's gonna sell thousands upon millions of dollars because of this little weird Mr. YouTube man. I really don't think that's the case at all. I do think that there are a few people in the world pushing the pig as hard as I am here on the channel, but I don't think that like millions of dollars are being made off of me. But the second is truly that I not only care about beginners in the sport who are casual players, care about beginners in the sport trying to grow in the disc golf content creation space, because if people want to make this their full-time job, there are only so many slots on the Pro Tour. There are only so many tour cards that exist, and hopefully as the tour continues to grow and expand, we honestly will have a lot less no names showing up on the tour, and we'll have tour card players playing on the tour, which will only make that even harder for people to get on the tour. Which means that if more people want to grow their brand, if more people want to grow and have a role in disc golf, more disc golf content creators are going to be needed. We're going to play 6 holes for 6 discs. We've got 6 head-to-head matchups, so let's see how it goes. I'm going to go ahead and predict that I think that the Wraiths and Destroyers will still be pretty good, just because of the fact that I have thrown Wraiths and Destroyers for so long that there's going to be like a bias to them just on sheer like subconscious confidence of the hand feel. So on this hole, we're going to start off with the Battle of the Purples. We've got Sharingan Destroyer versus Lucid Chameleon Raider. It's about 350 feet all the way around the corner there. So we're going to see what these do, hanging them out. First 4 hands of the day. We're going to go Destroyer first, because first 4-hand, but we're at least a little more confident with it. I'm going to try not to let this thing slip out of my hand. Like that. Man, you gotta love throwing forehands when you can't feel your fingers. Be easy to give this one the head-to-head right off the bat. Needs to get down. Yeah, that actually didn't feel bad at all. And I will say that the Lucid Chameleon, this is a factor. The Lucid Chameleon, as opposed to the Star, I didn't feel as slick on that one. Situation like this, we can see that we're here. We went out of bounds right about here. Especially, yeah, no, that was in bounds. Cool, cool, cool. I was like, especially if I throw it out of bounds. We're not talking about putter replacement until Thursday, but we're definitely switching putters. Trilogy versus Innova. Looks like Trilogy getting an advantage here. If we sink this, it's a 2-stroke swing. Ooh, only a 1-stroke swing, but still a 1-stroke swing. So for this one, we're gonna go pre-flight number Destroyer versus this Raider. This is, I think it's Lucid Moonshine. You guys can tell me, but I've never tested to see if they actually glow or not. Trilogy has the box, so we're gonna go ahead and not be biased here and give Trilogy the time to shine. We're going to that basket, straight ahead. Here we go. Yeah, you can see a little bit of flip up, gets down there, rides really straight. There's something that gets in my head really fast, guys. Crappy tee situations. There we go. We gave that one much more of a chance to shine. And it's down there. Looks like we're gonna be all tied up. Still not a bad result. You've got the Raider was right here. Oh. Raider was right there. It's gonna be off camera, but back here, that's interesting. That's interesting because we put a move on this and I feel like we threw it well, even throwing the Raider poorly in first. Technically, the Raider not only went farther, but it was also, like it went farther because it went this way, but even being like flaring out, it's closer to the pin than the Destroyer was. So that's 2 points for Trilogy. Whoo! Whew. This is where I would put these two side by side because these are both discs that I'm like looking to. We've got a Wraith, the Robbie C Owl Wraith, that I don't want this to fade hard. I want a nice little easy flip up out of it and then a crash. And I think that this Fusion Raider is going to be the exact same. Coming in at 330 feet. So this should be a nice, easy shot here. Oh, that's got to get down. And it does crash in. It's inbounds. Poorly thrown, so there's definitely room for the Wraith to grab a point for end of it here. Yeah. Whoo! I forehanded that Wraith a lot. That Raider just came back in out of a box, so it's gonna be in on this one. I mean, you can't draw the storyline any better than this. Let's walk them off and let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 and a foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 and a foot. So about 25 compared to 18, 19 feet. So Innova back on the board. We like to see it. No one likes a runaway race, right? We like a little drama. We like a little action. So time to test some overstability. All right, 2 super beautiful discs here. I'm gonna be honest. The last time that I was here was day, I wanna say it was 3 of Vlogmas where we did the roller only round. And in my mind, when I set up like this number of holes, this challenge and everything, the basket was down actually over by those green, the little like push, I don't know what they're called. I didn't play football growing up, so you guys have to tell me what, the sled? Is that what it is? I'd imagine offensive linemen are like, doo-doo, setting up into that. I thought it was over there, but in hindsight, it's because I threw such a horrific roller that I ended up over there anyways. So we're still gonna throw in that direction. Yeah, there's just not a basket, but it's 324 feet. We've got Calvin Halo Destroyer here. Super beef, even though it's 320 feet and part of it's downhill. We gotta put we really gotta give this thing the beans. Yeah, still like 30 feet short. I think the Defender at its core, 1313503, was supposed to be like super overstable option, but we'll see if it like actually holds in. These Lucid Ice Orbit Defenders were gorgeous, so easy grab. Okay, we didn't hit that one well either. And it's short. I mean, we threw that one so horribly, so horribly. All right, so this is the one that if there was a like manage your expectations, Crawford, step in, be careful, where you can like get into a I'm gonna throw so far moment. This is the one. 440 feet. It's downhill for the last, or there's like a little slope and then it flattens out. But 440 feet, we have my super flippy Wraith and we have my flippier Raider. I'll also go ahead and let you know that I've got someone working on 2 Raiders that will replace the Sharingan and Rinnegan die if we end up with the Raiders here. Wraith going first, team stamp, game on. And that's the hard part about that, is it's just so flippy. Like that disc is, I like it, but it's so hard to use distance wise because it's so flippy. And that one also flippy. Now what's interesting, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna run it back. I'm gonna go grab those 2 and bring them back because basically we got the exact same result. And if we're judging based on like sheer distance, the Raider went farther. So it may have half a point right now, but we're gonna rethrow. All right, we're back. Here we go. Round 2 for all the marbles. Yeah. I mean, went far, but she rolled over. I mean, I don't think I need to say anything. One of them flipped up and burned and then came back, and the other flipped up and just burnt. 2 options left. Time for the Vikings versus the Defender. Tough place for Innova to be right now because Innova at best can tie this thing, and if it ties it, we're still at the same impasse that we opened the video with, the same problem. So Innova really needs to make sure that they outshine by a mile here. It's only like a 200-foot hole, but these are both discs that I use for overstable flexes. So we're gonna try to hit this gap on the right side and force our way out and see if we can throw it with enough ante that it flexes and gets left of the basket. That's the goal. We want to throw right of the basket on Anheuser, see if it can get out and then still have time to fight out. I don't know. It's going to be a tough shot. This Trilogy just nabbed the box. So best case scenario for Trilogy or for Innova right now is that I hit like literally first available with this Defender. Game on. Okay. So it didn't get left of the hole, which means that I can put it on a lot more Anheuser because, I mean, I put it on some Anheuser and it just fought out immediately. That's a tough call, champ. That's a tough call because the Wraith did much more what I wanted it to. But maybe it's, I know the limits that I can push that Wraith on. The Defender, I literally found in a used section last week. So that Wraith did hit my line, but it also went soaring past the basket. So I can get long distance out of it. That's nice. But it also hit a fence. It could have been way farther than this. And this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. About 18. 18 times 3 is 24, 54. Okay, this hit a fence, remember. And it is 1, 2, 3, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, ends up 48 feet away versus the Defender, but the Wraith hit a fence. So I think, guys, it's going to come down to, for the least foreseeable future, Innova drivers, Destroyers, Wraiths. She gone. We're Defender and Raider people now. Really watching some of the discs fly, I feel like the Raider does get a little more movement for me than a Destroyer does. So that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed the trial basis, sort of seeing the thoughts as we process of what we want to have in the bag versus what we don't want to have in the bag. I'm excited for the Raiders. Truly, it gives me like hope for a new mold wanking its way in, gives me an excitement to head to the field and test out a bunch of Raiders to see which ones actually make the bag. So don't worry, when we get to the end of this month, I'll have done these trials a good bit more so you can hopefully see, okay, these are the ones that made it. Because I will say, we are trying to play Maple Hill at the end of this month. And when we play Maple Hill, we got some revenge to get on hole 1. So hopefully the T-pad's clear, hopefully there's less snow, and we're getting over this year, guys. I believe. As always, thank you for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.